Hey everybody, welcome to AntLab Games. Today we're going to do a playthrough, a solitaire playthrough of Between Two Cities by Stonemaier Games. Between Two Cities is a tile placement. I guess you could say it's also a tile drafting game, which is really built for 3 to 7 players, and you'll sort of understand why once we get going. But it does come with 1 and 2 player variants, which allow you to play this game solitaire, surprisingly enough. The game utilizes the Automa deck that you saw during my viticulture playthrough. So it's same sort of concept, where it's really just an AI deck that tells you where to place what moves to make for your opponents, and we'll go through all the rules and flow as we get going. But basically, for the startup, we're gonna need these 3 cards: this Automasso, me, and Automarta. So we're gonna actually have 2 opponents in this playthrough. The game comes with a number of tiles, and basically whenever I play, I just put them all in the one lid of the box, either the bottom or the top. And they've all been shuffled up and randomized, so I don't know what I'll be drawing from, but this will be the pool that I draw from. There is also a stack of what the game refers to as Duplex Tiles, which you use at certain points in the game, and actually they are part of the setup when playing solo. So we will have to draw from that deck. But this, for now, can stay off to the side. We're not going to need it, but you'll also need 3 sets of score markers, but we're not going to need them until the very end. So they'll just help us keep score when we start counting. So I think that should be it. Here's our Automa deck, which I've shuffled. This is our score chart, which we'll go through scoring once we start. And really, I think we can get set up and then start playing. And then I'll go quickly over how different tiles score and sort of our strategy and how the game's going to shake out. All right, let's take a look at the play area. So right here we've got our three players, right? The Automasso, me, and Automarta. And these are going to represent our spots at the table where we're going to have our tiles. Each of us will get dealt different tiles. But what the play area above us is actually going to consist of 3 different cities, and none of which are ours individually. Like, I don't have my own city, Automasso doesn't have his own city, and Automarta doesn't have her own city, right? We're going to have 3 cities. One on the left is going to be called Leftville, the one on the right is going to be called Right Town, and the one in the center is going to be called Automa City, right? So Automa City, I don't really interact with, right? I'm sort of competing with Automa City, essentially. So Automa City is owned by Automasso and Automarta. They contribute to that city. I contribute to Leftville and Right Town. So Automasso and I build Leftville. Automarta and I build Right Town. Of those 2 cities that we build, I take the one at the end of the game with the lowest score, and then that's going to be my score against Automa City, and that's how I want to beat it. So I have to make sure that both of those cities are built as high and as good as I could possibly make them, because I'm competing against the Automa City. And you'll see how that makes sense as we start placing tiles and looking for certain combos and scoring. So with that said, there's 2 versions of the game we can play, 2 versions of the solitaire game. There's a simple mode and a full mode. We're going to play the full mode, which involves, all the decks and all the, extended rules and all that good stuff. And we're going to go through every game round and do the proper drafting. So for setup, what we need to do initially is seed Automa City. Before any building tiles are assigned, we need to draw 2 duplex tiles and insert them into the city. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so Automa City, we're just going to take 2 tiles off the top. Again, those are shuffled. And we're going to insert them into the city. So we've got... and I tend to keep the like symbols together. It's just going to help us score. It really doesn't matter where they're placed, because at the end it's going to score it a certain way that really is irrespective to their location of each individual type of city tile. More, it's going to be the types of city tiles they have. So that's the first step. And now we're going to jump into 3 normal game rounds, which will consist of basically dealing out the smaller tiles and then playing them. So we can get started now. All right, at the very start of the game, each of us are going to be dealt 7 tiles. So I just start grabbing stacks of tiles and I just deal them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So these 7 tiles are now flipped face up, and they're basically the hand, each player's hand, and I'm going to have to manage each of these hands. So nothing's secret here. So because there's a certain, flow to how things get placed. So I really just separate them by type in each pile because they're all going to get moved and placed over the next few rounds. So we basically, and these aren't the cities yet. These are just the tiles, right? Of what are going to make up the 3 different cities as we go through and start placing them or building the cities, right? And you have a number of different types of tiles. And they all have different scoring combinations, and we'll go through that real quick before we start building. All right, so these are all the different types of buildings. There's only 6, so it's not too hard to remember. And they all kind of make thematic sense on how you're supposed to place them and how they're scored. So if we start at the top, the yellow package is basically a shop. So let's think of it as like a gift for gift shops, right? And the way you score them is if they're adjacent to each other, you get multiples of score every time. So if you have 1 on the board, you get 2 points. If you have 2 on the board that are adjacent, you get 5 points. 3 on the board adjacent, you get 10, and then 16 for 4. So you'll score that full set of 4. You don't get any more if it goes beyond that, but it really can't because the cities are set up in a 4x4 grid. So it's going to be a 4x4 square. That's how it has to be set. Everything but Automa City, because obviously these are just laid out in any order, it doesn't matter. This one is factory, right? Factories are good in a sense that you get factories times 2 is how you score it, right? Depending on where it'll be either times 2, times 3, or times 4, depending on if you're the city that has the most. So if you have the most factories in your city, each of your cities will be worth 4 points. So you could really make an industrial city, or do you not want that? The only downside will be when you get to housing. Oh, that'll make sense in a second. The next one we have our taverns, and there are 4 different types of taverns. There's drinking taverns, there's eatery taverns, there's music taverns, and there's sleeping taverns. So more or less like a bar, a diner, a nightclub, and like an inn or a hotel. And for each of the unique types you get score multipliers. For the blue, that's offices, or like, commercial office buildings. So these you score 1 point for, and they could be anywhere in the city, but you get an additional point whenever they're adjacent to a tavern. So every one of these that's adjacent to a red building, you get an additional point. But you also get the multiplier. So if you've got 1, you get 1, you get 2, you get 3, you get 3, you get 6. So it's kind of good to sort of go with specific trends. Parks, quite simple. They have to be connected in a grouping, and for as many as you have in the grouping, you go up and score. Obviously, after the 3rd one, you're only starting to get 1 point at a time, so it's only really beneficial to put 3 of them together. And finally, we have housing. So houses are worth, each house is worth a point per unique tile in your city. So if there are up to 5 points. So if there are 1 of every other tile, not counting houses, in the city, each house will be worth 5 points. That's the maximum you can do. However, if a house is next to a factory, that house, no matter what, is only worth 1 point because you don't want to live next to a factory. So that's it. That's how you score. So let's see what we have to do first. Okay, now that we are ready to begin, we basically have Automasso go, Automarta go, and then I go. And Automasso is going to draw the first Automa card, and it's going to tell him exactly what he needs to do. So the first thing he does is he activates the left side of his card, and that really represents, this symbol here is going to, it really represents, he's going to play the highest scoring type of building. And you've got to use your kind of brain here and figure out what he should be playing based on what's already in the city. There's nothing in the city, so I can't really decide based on what's in the city already. So what he's going to do is, they have this little chart at the bottom which from left to right tells you basically the most valuable buildings, if you know, from left to right, depending if there's no real way for you to figure it out. So I kind of go with it by default, if there's, especially at the start. So it's going to say what's the best move for him, and the first symbol is a factory. So he has a factory, so I will place it up here in Leftville. Right now, they don't insert the tile into the city; they just assign it and say that's going to go in this city. Only I can assign or insert these tiles into the city, you know, on my turn, so I can decide how I want to place them with the piece that I also get to place. However, now that they have to do Automa City up top, this automatically gets inserted, and it will in fact affect how Automarta plays into Automa City. So, all right, this symbol typically comes up quite often, and what it's basically saying is that if there's already a house in that city, then pick another card that's not in the house, that's not in the city, right? Or any other type of tile that's not within the city. If that's not the case, then go on to the next most valuable tile. All right, and since Automa City has a factory, it's got a couple of these office buildings and a park. Based on the chart and general scoring, it looks like a house would probably be the next most valuable tile for the city. So I'm going to keep these, in sort of an order to show that, each type of building. So that's what Automasso will do. So Automasso's turn's over. Now for Automarta, she's also going to get a card, an Automa card, and for our player shared city, which is Right Town, I think. She's going to see that rule. If it has a house, put another type of tile in there. If not, put a house in there, and if not, put the best tile. But since there's no house, we're going to put a house in there since she has one. So pretty simple. She's not going to assign it to the city. If she's assigning it to the city, she's not inserting it into the city. So it's very important. The next one is the next most valuable tile into Automa City, which I think would probably at this stage... So a park would be worth 4 points. An office building... I think right now the park is worth the most points, so we'll give them another park. Because it's worth 6 points actually for 2 parks. So it's Automarta's turn. I will put this in the discard pile, and now I get to go. All right, so now it's my turn. I get to assign 2 tiles, and I'll assign one to the left city and one to the right city, and I have to decide what I want to do. So I'm going to insert this one in. Remember, I can do a 4x4 grid here. So I'll put this one in, and you can build from top to bottom. Once they're placed in the city, though, that's it. They're locked in. So what I'll do is I'm going to play another factory. So we're gonna create my city probably about here, and I'm going to have 2 factories in here. So I'm going to make this an industrial conglomerate. And if I want to put housing in here, remember, I have to keep it away from the industry so that they're worth points. So that's what I'll do here. Those are placed. That city is now begun. This city has a house, and do I want to go with more houses, or do I want to start branching off into some commercial, which is not a bad thing, but I do want to diversify in this town, I think. So let's see what we have here. I could put in more housing, which I think isn't a bad idea. So I think we'll go in with housing. So this will be a housing city. We'll start this one about here. We may have to move it around a bit, but actually I took it from the wrong pile. So housing city. So that's my turn. So now each of us has five building tiles left. So that's where that's how I know I've allocated properly. So we're done here. That's the end of this round. Now we're going to repeat this after we exchange hands. So I'm going to move my hand to the left. Automasso is going to give his hand to Automarta. Automarta is going to give her hand to me, and then we're going to go again. So we're going to keep shuffling hands and placing 2 tiles until we all have just 1 tile left. All right. So to simulate passing our hands to the left, I would pass my hand to Automasso. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move all the name tags to the right. It's just an easier way to do this. So that simulates passing all the hands to the left. And we're still in the first round. It's going to keep going. In round 3, we actually pass all the hands to the right, so we'll do the opposite. But the same strategy still applies, the same process. So remember, Automasso still contributes to Leftville, and Automarta still contributes to Right Town, if I got that right. I'm not sure. So that doesn't change. Like our seating doesn't change. We just passed hands. So just we have to keep that straight. So, but we'll continue as was, and we'll go with Automasso and see what he wants to do. All right. So Automasso. So in our player shared city, remember that's on the left. He is going to place a house if he has one. He does. So we're gonna assign it, but we're not going to put it in the city. So that's there. In Automa City, he's going to place a factory. Nope, he doesn't have one. House. Nope, he doesn't have one. Next valuable would probably be the 3rd. No, it's still. I think it's the park. If he puts in this shop, it's only worth 2. It'll make the house worth 2, so it'll add additional 3. Another park would add additional 4. This would add an additional 2. So I think the 3rd park is probably the most valuable at this point, but I think after that it won't be parks anymore for him. So he's done. We move on to Automarta. So Automarta draws for the player's shared city. She's got the right city. She's going to do the most valuable, which I'm thinking is probably, it's either going to be the park or the shop. So it's probably going to be the park, I think. Well, it could be either or. Maybe I'll go with the shop. So she's going to place that, assign that to right town, I think it's called. Right town, right city, rightville. To the right. She's going to this place to the right. And to Automa City, she's going to place, if she has it, another house. So that's going to go up top. So her turn's over, and now we go to me. All right. So now that I know I've got to place this house up here, I don't want it next to one of my factories. So I'm going to assign it one of these 3. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm over here. One of these 3. So what? I'll actually do 4. So if I were to say, God, I want another factory over here, I'm gonna place this house next to this house. Will only ever be worth 1 point. So it's probably not the smartest move. So I think what I'll do is I'll drop a shop in here and put my house down here to keep some space. So now this house can be worth, right now this house is worth 2 points, which is good. And over here, did I want to do that? I don't think I did. Let me change that up. I want to make it this. Still the same impact on my score, but because what I want to do here is I want to use this, and I want to have these 2 adjacent, because that's how these score. So right now these are worth 5 points each. Well, total of 5 points. So that's how I'm going to start building those 2 cities. And we each have 3 cards left, or 3 tiles left, so now I know. But if you want to take a look, this is how we've got the city set up at this point, which we're getting there. Again, Automa City doesn't matter how these are laid out, it's just really to keep track for scoring. It's these 2 cities where placement really matters. So what we're going to do is we have to pass the hands to the left again. So I'm going to go down here and these guys are going to shift to the right, and we're going to start over again with Automasso. Alright, so Automasso draws. So for my player shared city on the left, he's going to place or assign a factory, which is good because that's a pretty heavily industrialized city. So that's actually works out for me. Now in Automa City, he's going to place the most valuable tile, which is probably the house. So I'll throw that in there. And this is actually going to get discarded at the end of his turn. And now we move on to Automarta. Alright, so Automarta, for our shared city on the right, she is going to put in the most valuable, and I think it's going to be this. It's going to be worth 5 points, so she'll assign it here. And now for Automa City, if it doesn't have a house, put something different in, but if it does, put the most valuable tile. It's probably going to be this, because it's going to make every house now worth 4 points instead of 3. So that's 3 more points, plus that one is 4, where this would have, plus if it's adjacent to the 2 office buildings, they're worth 1 plus 1 each as well. So that's without a doubt going to be the tile. So Automarta's done, and now I get to go. Alright, so here are my 2 cities, and here are the 3 tiles I have to work with here. So I think it's a no-brainer that we put this other factory up top, and we'll leave him at that. But do I want to add... Yeah, I think I want to add this, because when this is adjacent to... When one of these pubs is adjacent to a office building, these are worth plus 1, I guess, because the office workers like to go to the pubs. So that's the tile I assign there. So down here, I want to keep this flow going because that's where I'm going to maximize points. And I would assume that maybe a park would be ideal to start branching out into here. Or maybe I'll start growing up here. If I put it here, yeah, that might not be a bad idea. I might be able to grow up. So I'll throw a park in there. This is gone. So these 3 tiles are now removed. They're not used, and that basically is the end of round 1. So I can discard these Automa cards. I can shift everybody back to where they're supposed to be, and now we enter round 2. Okay, so round 2 is the duplex round. So this is going to be fairly different, and it's fairly quick. So what happens is I draw 3 duplex tiles, and I reveal them, and now I get to assign one of them to each of my cities. So what would make the most sense? I would think I'd assign that one here, and I will probably assign, do I want this, or do I want more housing? I'll probably take this one here, and this one gets discarded. And I do it again. I draw 3, reveal, and then pick 2. And now they can't be, notice that there's a certain orientation to each of these tiles. So I can't put this tile, for example, vertical. It has to be placed horizontally. And it has to adhere to the 4x4 rules when building. So I have to think about what's going to make the most sense in the setup. And I think I probably will go with this one for here and this one for here, maybe. Yeah, this is tough. Okay, so I think that's what I'll do. Alright, now we actually get the place. So what's going to make the most sense? So remember, we have to keep a 4x4. So the only way I could theoretically keep these together, I mean, I could do something like that, where I have this and I can try to max out scoring for that. And I think that's probably the best way to do that one. This goes in the discard. And for these guys, I can finish out my 4, which is kind of what I wanted to do there. And I really would have liked to get this adjacent to this office, but that's not going to happen. So I could technically do this and then only be able to build out this way, or I could do this. But I think I want to build up because I want to add on to this park if I can, because those are some good multipliers if you can at least get 3 of them together. So I think that's going to be my city at this stage. So that ends round 2. It's that simple. The reason we didn't put any duplex tiles in Automa City is because, if you remember at the start of the game, we seeded it with 2. And that kind of gives a basis for the AI to make its decisions, determining what it's going to need in Automa City. So you have to have sort of a starting point. But that's it. That's the end of round 2. Now we're going to do round 3. And round 3 is essentially the same as round 1, except we're going to pass the hands to the right instead of the left. So let's deal out 7 tiles and get this going. Alright, remember, same as before, I just grab a stack of tiles out of the box and I will deal out 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, and we can turn them face up, and that's all the tiles I'll be using this game. That's it. There's quite a few left. So these are all going to go face up, and we can start with Automasso and see what he wants to do. Alright, let's start with Automasso. Alright, so he's going to do our player shared city. If there's no house, he's going to put something else, but that's not the case. If he has a house, he's going to put it in there, and he's got no houses. So he's going to put the next highest scoring tile, which is definitely going to be this guy, I think. Well, no, he doesn't need to put him in there because I'm already killing it as far as industry goes. So what's after that? It would have been housing or office or probably one of these, and it's got to be a different one than what's already in there. So I think we should put a bar. Let's put a pub in there. So I think he's going to assign the pub to this city. Oops. And now he gets to decide what's going to go to Automa City, because he's going to do the next highest as well. And it's probably going to be, I would think, the pub again, or would it be this to change up? No, it's probably the pub again. So he'll put that in there. Alright, so I think Automasso is done. So let's move on to Automarta. Alright, so Automarta, she draws factory. She has none. So what is she going to put the next most valuable tile? So this guy would be worth 1, 2, 3 points if I played him. This guy would be worth 2, so he's out of the question. This guy would be worth 3 points if I played him. He would be worth 2 points, or like 3 points, so we already established that. The park would be worth 4 though, so I think, right here. So she'll assign it to the city and I'll place it later. If there's no houses, but there are, does she have a house? Yes, so she's going to play a house in Automa City. So she is done as well. Pretty simple. My turn. Alright, so let's assign and place. Now I can put in some more houses. I could put in another gift shop, which is actually what I want to do because this is worth 5 points. So if I put a gift shop here, and I put a pub maybe here, would be good. Then we are pretty good. So that's nice. Let's look at this guy. So we know we want to put our park here, and if I had another park, I'd absolutely play that there, but I don't. We don't want any more shops, but maybe we want a different one of these guys. So we'll put him here and go with that. I think that's it. So we've got 5 tiles each. Now we're going to pass the player cards. Now in the third round we pass the hands. We would pass our hands to the right. So we're going to pass our people to the left. So Automasso is going to go that way. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. All right, I think I got it right. As long as you keep changing, I think it's fair enough. So let's go ahead and kick off Automasso. All right, so does he have a factory? No, he's going to put the next most valuable tile in that city. So I think this music is going to be worth 5 points. So he's absolutely going to play that. Now for Automa City, he is going to play, he only has some limited choices here, but I think it's probably beneficial. So this would be worth 3 plus, this would be worth like 5 points if he places that. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 2 is 6. So now he's going to place this because it's going to trigger some really good housing bonuses to have the variety. So I think that's Automasso's go. So he's done, and we are going to move on to Automarta. Automarta, in my player shared city on the right, she is going to. She could put this in, and that'll be worth 5 points, which would be quite nice. And I think she'll do it. Maybe she'll put it here, because they don't have to be next to each other. But again, she just needs to assign it. I don't know why I'm getting ahead of myself. In Automa City, though, she's going to put a house, because that's what it's calling for. So this guy's done. Now it's me. Alright, so now I can start placing. So do I want to place that here? Yeah, because I want it next to, well, commercial if I can. But I also get to place another one. Now I already have beds there, so it's not beneficial to do that. I don't have any parks there, but I think a factory is what we want to do. So we'll do that. This guy, I think we'll put him there. And I will play another park here. So that was where I can max out my park. So perfect. Now we get to rotate our hands one more time. Remember, we're shifting left. Bing, bing, bing. And Automasso is going to get to go first. So let's jump right in. Player shared if there's no house. There is. If not, he's going to put a house. So he assigns a house here. Just put it up here. For Automa City, he's going to put the best tile. He only has these two, so he's going to put that there, and he is done. For Automarta, in the player shared, she's going to put the highest scoring tile, which I think would be, it's going to be this. And Automa City, she's got 2 of these, so they're identical, so she'll just put it in there. Pretty simple. And for me, I've got 3 cards left, 3 tiles left, and I think, actually no, did I put that here? What was Automarta's? I put it in the wrong city. Okay. I want to make sure I screwed that up. I was like, wait, I had too many tiles, but we're good now. So I am going to play you here for sure, and I guess I'll play you here, and this will go in the discard, right? And I will place this house here and this office building here. I'll put this office building here and this store here. And that's it. So we're done placing tiles. As you can see, the cities, left and right cities, are now in their 4x4 grids. Automa City is ready to be scored now, and this is where we're going to have to take those little tokens into play and identify each city and really just start adding up scores. So These don't necessarily matter anymore, because what's going to happen now is I'm going to take the lowest score of these two cities and hope to beat Automa City. So why don't we get the scoreboard out and start tallying this up? Okay, so this is probably the most complicated part of the game is the scoring. So you just have to assign a token to each of our cities, right? So I'll assign this white arch to, that's left city. I moved right city down here just so it's in reach. So right city will be purple, and this like Asian golden tower will be our Automa city. And we will start by scoring. I guess we could score. Let's score Automa City first, and then we'll see where our other two cities end up. Alright, so the way you score Automa City, like I said, it doesn't matter where things are placed. So I just go down a list, right? So I'll say, we'll start down here and say, okay, for the shops, and they're always scored as if they're optimally placed, so as if they were adjacent. So he's going to get 5 points. So I'm just going to take his marker and bring him up to 5. So that starts with that, right? Now, let's go to houses. So house tiles are scored as if none of them are adjacent to a factory. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of buildings. And so that means that his houses are worth 5 points each. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. So I'm going to bring him up to 30. So his houses are scored. Offices. So all the offices are going to get the +1 bonus. So it's 1, 2 offices is 3, +1 +1, so that's 5. So he's going to have 5 more points. So that's 35. Offices are done. Taverns are scored in the optimal way. So he's got 3 different kinds. So he's going to get 3 different, as if he has 3 of them, which would be 9 more points. So 35 plus 9 is 44. So he's got 44 points. Now, parks are assumed to be placed, optimally again. So this would be worth another 12 points. So that's 46, 56. And factories are scored, normally. So he's only got 1. So he definitely came in. He came in second place actually because I didn't have any factories in my right city. So it's only worth 2 points. So he's going to go up 1, 2 to a total score of 58. Okay, so let's start with my left city and see where we score here. We'll start with parks. There are none. Go to taverns. So our taverns are, we have 1, 2, 3. They're all different, so we get 9 points. So I'm going to move this up to 9. For shops, we've got 3 in a row, so that's worth another 10. So we go up to 19. Factories, we are in first place, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, so they're worth 4 points each. 4 times 4 is 16. So we go to 29, 35. So we're up to 35 points. Offices, we have 1, 2, 3 of them, which is worth 6 points, and if they're adjacent to any reds, so that's 6, 7, 8. 8 more points. So that goes to 43. Houses, we've got 1, 2, 3 houses, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different types. So 3 times 4 is 12. So we get 12 points for houses. So we go to 45, 55. And that's our total score, 55 points. And let's go on to the right city and see what we score. Alright, so we shall do the same thing. Parks. What do we have for parks? We've got 1, 2, 3 parks. So that is in the proper alignment, so we get 12 points for parks. We'll go to 12. Taverns. We've got 3 of them, and they're all different, so that's another 9. So that's 21. Shops. We have 4 in a row. That's 16. Plus 2 is 18. So, let's see, 29, 39. Factories, we have no factories here. Offices, we get 1, 3, plus 1 is 4. So that's 43. And houses, we've got 1, 2, 3 houses times 5. Because I know we have all 5 types here. Actually, no, we don't have any factories here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 times 4 is 12, so that goes to 55. So we scored 55 points with that city as well. Wow. Okay, let's look at the scoreboard. Alright, so this is how we finished. Both of my cities scored 55. The Automa city scored 58. I lost by 3 points. So, had any one of my other cities beaten him, I still would have lost because we get the lowest scoring one. So, maybe a slight mistake here and there. Maybe I should have put in, or at least tried to get some more diversification in those cities to take advantage of some of the house bonuses, but oh well. Close. But that's it. It's that simple. It's a pretty quick moving game. It sets up pretty fast. It plays really fast, especially solitaire. The Automa deck, it's really straightforward. It's just, it gets a little brainy when you got to try to figure out which tile is worth more based on all the combos that it's going to trigger once you put it into play. So, but otherwise, I mean, it does have a pretty big footprint, as you can see, once you get everything light on the table. But at least you don't need this board on the table till the very end, because you don't score to the end, so you have no idea really how you're doing until the end. But that's it. Hope you enjoyed the playthrough. It was a pretty quick, down and dirty one. So, as always, leave your comments, any rules, updates or mistakes that you could point out. I'll put notes in. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I shall see you next time.